Today on the pod, we got a nice ice cold Heineken. And the Heineken, Amsterdam. So anyways, we're gonna crack into this. And my neighbors are gonna think I'm crazy, probably. I mean, if they're looking at me, what's he up to? What's he up to type thing. I'd be asking that question. I would be asking, what is that guy up to over there? Oh, yeah. On the last podcast I did, it was called Long Form Expression. And that was a very personally fulfilling podcast. It's one of my favorite types of podcasts that I've ever done. And I explained why it was, but there was no video on that podcast. It was me set up. And something about the camera, I'm trying to identify what it is about the camera. But something about it stifles me from feeling and thinking freely. I feel like I have to perform. And I struggle with this feeling in my life of feeling like I have to, anytime that I have to perform and be put on the spot and be a certain way. It's like whenever I'm presenting in front of somebody, or, even if I'm out at Texas Roadhouse and it's my turn to order and there's a big group of people, listening to me order, I feel like I have to, I got to pronounce the dish right. If you go to like a nice Italian restaurant, sometimes I can't say the name right. It's a tricky word. And, me being Italian, I'm like, I should be able to say this. I can't pronounce it. So a lot of times at Italian restaurants, I'll just order something I can actually pronounce. But whenever I feel this put on the spot pressure, I don't like it. I don't like that feeling. And maybe it's not even that I don't like it. Let me think about this a little bit. It's not that I necessarily don't like it. It just makes me a little uncomfortable, and it makes me a little self-conscious. And actually, as I say that, I'm realizing that's pretty normal, probably. I'm probably not alone in that. So, but anywho, when I started my podcast, when I started doing all this, there was no video, and I was just, if I close my eyes, which you can't tell because I got these but if I close my eyes, everything's different. I feel really intuitive with what my mind feels and my body feels, and it's a different feeling. It's a feeling, a meditative state almost. And then when there's the camera, I feel like I gotta be outside myself, and I gotta present or be something, and it makes me, it clogs up the stream of consciousness, which is, that sounds a little crazy, but it's the stream of consciousness. It's why I started this podcast. I was reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, aka Tolle, and I was feeling dang near every fiber of my being. And then when I started my podcast, I was in a place where I didn't have any regular thoughts. And I'm not trying to act like I'm some anomaly or an enigma, but I felt very different relatively in my own life. The way that I felt was so unique from how I'd been feeling for the first 27 years of my life. I felt something quite new. And so I start podcast out of this state because I just wanted to act. I wanted to be. The camera falls over. I guess it's a no video podcast. But I just wanted to capture how I felt, and I didn't even want to really capture it. It's hard to really put a verb behind it, I guess, but I just wanted to feel, and part of that wanting to feel made me push away any negative, fear-based thinking of, just all the reasons why I shouldn't do a podcast, why it would be embarrassing, why blah, blah, blah. All those negative thoughts, it didn't matter. I was just feeling so present. And it was like, of course, why would I be hesitant to capture the present moment? So I guess at that point in my life, it was the first time I realized the true value of the present moment. The present moment. It was the first time. And so now, as I do podcast, I like that the podcast can be a vessel for me to get into the moment and then feel in real time. And with the introduction of the camera/video, it actually negated some of that presence. It actually made me feel more neurotic, negative emotion. It made me feel more like, watching back, whatever. But when I listen to my own words that come out of my mouth, that go into the technology, that get recorded into the podcast, that get recorded on here, that get put into when I listen back to myself thinking and speaking, it makes sense. And that's the part of the podcast that I don't think people really understand if they've never done one, or if they've never thought about, how do I frame this? I think the value that I get from it's different than the value that the viewer gets from it. It's very different on this side of it. Like this right here, it's just fun to create. I want to, as I get older, as I become more of an individual. Hey, lady down there looking at me. Yeah, I'm doing a podcast. Sorry. Dude, I don't even remember what I was saying. Dang it. See, visual stimuli is a easy way to derail yourself. But I want to grow in this. I want to get better at it. So I think what I was saying was the value that I get from it's a little different than the value that the viewer might get from it. And so, as I've mentioned on the previous episodes and podcast, I'm understanding with every video, with every, pod recording, I'm understanding what's the value, where's that balance of value for me and for a viewer. And so in the beginning, I think kind of that low level initiating phase, and I think I'm still in that low level. I mean, look at me, dude. I'm still in that low level initiating a podcast channel, YouTube channel, video, audio production thing. I'm in that early nascent, I believe is the word, stage. And I think it's useful for people to see this phase of my whatever. I think there's some value in it because I like how accessible this is. I have this phrase in my mind called overproduced. You ever seen something that's overproduced? It's when there's too much production value behind it. It loses something that's like grounded. It loses its like authentic, genuine grounding to the modern day person, I think. So I don't want to be too overproduced. I don't want to go get a studio. I don't want to go get a guy to do my blah, blah, blah. I don't want to have, I don't want to make this a big production. I don't want to. This is just everyday life. And the way that I see it is like, go on your phone, go on Instagram, go on whatever you use, TikTok, and take a look at that. Do you see what is occurring? It is an endless stream of content, not consciousness. I misspoke. I did misspeak because I'm making it a bigger deal than it was. But go look at your phone and realize oh my gosh, you could be on there for 7 years and you're never going to run out of stuff to watch because the rate that we're creating content is faster than the rate that we are consuming it. So content, get ready. We're all going to be making content sooner or later. And if you're not, that's fine. I don't think it'll ever be mandatory. But look at the world. Look at the way things are going. Okay? I want to figure out what do I have to add? Where's my value? Do I have any value? Start there. Do I even have value? You know, we get shown the best content all day long, the most pristine, well thought out, well clipped, well put together. We see it. Our attention spans are so low, you know, and I'm in that boat. I'm experiencing it. And so the way I view it is, if I don't have anything to counteract that immense consumption, I'm not going to be as well off as if I was a person who could embody both sides of consuming and producing. I want to produce. I want to create. I am here to create. You know, there's something different about us that allows us to understand beauty, to understand creativity, to think freely outside the realms of what's here and now. Here and now is great, but creative people are in the future, and they're constantly thinking about the future. They're thinking about who they could be. They're thinking about what they could create, and then in the moment they bring those future concepts into the present. That's why they are creative artists. And so this podcast, I probably should need to be putting a little bit more thought into it, you know, because I'm well aware people aren't, you know, I don't even want people to watch me ramble, you know, and I've probably been doing a little bit of that rambling stuff recently, and I'm probably doing it right now even. So I'm reaching, you know, I'm seeing like, okay, on my podcast, I don't get to just ramble, okay? It was fulfilling in the beginning to just ramble, but now I'm at a point where I'm comfortable with this. I'm cool with the mic. I'm cool, getting more cool with the camera, and it's time to actually think about what's the value of what I'm going to create. And this is evolving. This is not, you know. The sad thing about doing a solo podcast is I can't even drink my beer. There's no one else here to take up, you know, fill in the gaps in the space. Let me go get Remy. Well, father like son, he didn't want to be on camera, which is fine. That's fine. But anyways, so yeah, this is probably the thing that I'm thinking about the most. What else is going on in my life? You know, I could talk about the day-to-day. You know, work's going good. I've been reading. Got some trips coming up. Ooh, like, does anyone care about that? No. Like, people don't really care about that. So my whole thing is with this. Oh, there's Remy. My whole thing with the podcast is I want it to be engaging and valuable to other people, and I want to inspire. I want to make people, you know, laugh. I want to encourage people, because if I can believe in myself and I can demonstrate that, then that might allow someone else to believe in themselves, and then they can create. And that actually happened with my good friend Coin. Shout out Coin. You know, when I started my podcast, he shortly after started his own. And now he's on like episode 13. I'll plug him. The Rugby Boys, Aaron Coin. You can look him up on YouTube. But that was like so fulfilling to me. Like, wow. You know, someone saw what I was doing, and then they decided to make a choice in their life that could benefit themselves. Like sharing good news, you know? Being vulnerable. Remy, me and Remy have been practicing this. You know, vulnerability, feeling what you feel. If you feel something off-putting or negative, address it, acknowledge it, speak about it, feel about it, even so. But, so anyways, this is the Balcony Pod. You know, I'm having fun experimenting with the different angles, places I can do podcasts, different guests. This was actually supposed to be a guest podcast, but guest kind of said nah. He got, I guess, cold feet. I don't know. But now I'm just doing this, and I didn't plan it, and I guess I'm coming to the end of, the podcast. It feels like that way. So, anyways, love you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next pod.